To order. Sergeant Arms will please secure the doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence in the chamber? If not, the clerk will take the call. We're just going to take from the morning ones. With 44 members in the chamber and the quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is back in session, from recess. So we have to do a quick Rules Committee meeting. Okay, so around 4:15, we're getting the bill we'll do a pull-off Rules Committee hearing. We'll do this. If there are no objections, we'll start with the third readers. We'll go to the third readers. Once we have the bill for rules, we'll switch to a calendar of second readers so that we can send people off and they won't miss any votes, and then we'll come back in and go back to the third readers. So we'll be a little bit flexible, and we'll do the best that we can. So let's go ahead and let's do these quick yays and nays. We'll start with message from the House number 10. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 61, Senator Zucker, Maryland Transit Administration, conversion to zero-emission buses, Zero-Emission Bus Transition Act revisions.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. We've got some House bills being sent over at this late hour. Number 35, clerk will read the bills.
House Bill 386, Delegate D. Jones, Anne Arundel County and City of Annapolis, Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses Account, Local State of Emergency Rules.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. Let's go ahead to this concurrence. This is out of Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. Number 17, clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 19, Senator Lamb, Pharmacist, Administration of Maintenance, Injectable Medications, Treatment of Sexually Transmitted Infections, EHE.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee on the House amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The bill expands the definition of maintenance injectable medication to include treatment for sexually transmitted infections. The House made some very small technical changes to the definition. The committee reviewed it, and we will move the concurrence.
The chairman moves to concur with the House amendments. Any discussion of the amendments? Any objection to the amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 19 is now again before the body on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 19, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 440, Senator Bidle, Commission to study the health care workforce crisis in Maryland establishment. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. A number of weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, the Senator from Anne Arundel County introduced a bill to address the healthcare workforce crisis, which we think is more than timely. The Senate committee and the floor of the Senate passed it. The House looked at it and made some very small minor changes in terms of the composition of the commission. They changed 1 or 2 of the 11 or 15 people. We think it's fine. We would move to concur.
All right, the chairman moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion on the amendments? Any objections to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 440 is now before the body again for third reader, final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 440, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, let's go to third reading calendar number 80. These are Senate bills. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 511, Senator Heddleman, Human Services, Secretary of Aging, qualifications.
Senate Bill 511 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? Chair recognizes the Senator from Montgomery County on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President, and of course, on the bill. Colleagues, I had not intended to speak on this bill, and in fact, during second reading yesterday, I, sat quietly because I had shared my thoughts about what at least I perceive to be as to unnecessary legislation that does, and this is in response to what I heard yesterday, and I completely concur, really is a slippery slope, and to what avail? The first thing I want to clarify is that this bill will not affect our sitting Secretary of the Department of Aging. That's not why I am standing up and sharing my concerns with this legislation. I will tell you, as the younger brother of our sitting Secretary of the Department of Aging, I am incredibly proud of her public service here in this chamber and for the past 8 years as the Secretary of the Department of Aging. But my concern is what this bill does going forward. I heard yesterday on the floor discussion about at what point is it appropriate for this body to start intervening in the decision process of our governors and the good work that executive nominations does when those gubernatorial nominees are brought before them. I don't always agree with the policies of our governor, and I stand up and share my concerns when I disagree. But this governor has done an exceptional job in appointing the governor's cabinet and the department heads that serve the residents of our state. I've had the honor of being here under 2 governors. I would say the very same thing about the governor who preceded Governor Hogan. And I question what is the logic, what is the reasoning, and what is the purpose to this legislation. Now, colleagues, interestingly enough, as you're aware, we had a bill just a few weeks ago address certain qualifications for our Secretary of Health going forward. And when it was brought up in committee, my comments sitting there in committee, the slippery slope begins. And I was told at the time by colleagues in the committee, no, the reason we're doing this is that it's very targeted for a secretary who has this position within the Department of Health. We've been through a pandemic. We've seen perhaps the need to have this legislation. Don't worry about that slippery slope. Well, here we are just a few weeks later, and colleagues, while we were sitting in committee discussing this bill, that don't worry about the slippery slope suddenly became Oh, but we've got precedent for having done this. Just 3 weeks ago, we did it with the Secretary of the Department of Health. There's precedent for it. Colleagues, I'm questioning where it is that we're going on this path. So, what exactly is it that this bill is looking to solve? That was never revealed during the committee hearings, nor the discussion during the voting session. All I was told was, well, we have this aging population and it's growing. Yes, it is. Shouldn't be lost on any of us. We are aging. It's a fact. But how does this bill impact the fact that our citizenry is aging? I was also told, when I questioned how does this bill change anything, I heard, yes, but this is a population that's getting older. And because they're getting older, well, maybe they're a little more vulnerable. I don't take issue with that. How does this bill before us address that? I was never provided an answer to that. So let's take a look. What exactly does this bill do? And then maybe you all will feel comfortable standing up and sharing with me what you think maybe it does to improve the lives of the citizens of Maryland. The bill states that going forward, the Secretary of the Department of Aging shall have extensive experience with and knowledge of the laws, legislation, and regulations relating to aging, and programs for aging individuals, including evidence-based and data-driven programs. And that this secretary must demonstrate a commitment to the missions of both the Federal Older Americans Act and the Department of Aging. Does anyone believe for a moment that our governors going forward would nominate a secretary for the Department of Aging that is not committed to the mission of the Department of Aging? Yet, that's what they will have to attest to going forward. So let's take a little deeper dive into this, because we also heard, colleagues, that this legislation was simply patterned after a 2004 bill for the Secretary of the Department of Disabilities. And I will allow you all to conclude if you believe that pattern holds true. The law as passed in 2004 for that secretary, colleagues, does in fact state that that secretary will have extensive experience and knowledge of disabilities laws. That it has in common with the bill before us. Other than also having a bachelor's degree, there is no commonality between what was done in 2004 and the bill that is before you. But here is what the substantive part of that bill was, colleagues. That law stated that if you're going to be the Secretary of Disabilities in the state of Maryland, you must be an individual with a disability, or appoint a deputy secretary who is an individual with a disability. Colleagues, I would proffer to you that the difference between that 2004 legislation and the bill before you is glaring. This was not patterned off a bill that mandates our Secretary of Disabilities come from the disabilities community. I can understand the thought and the logic there. It made sense, and it was the substantive change that was made in 2004. We have not taken this kind of action in all the time since. Colleagues, I would proffer to you that perhaps our department heads just might be required to perhaps have executive and management skills. They are overseeing, operating, managing, and running departments with hundreds of employees with budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars. Nothing in the bill before you says anything about a department head that brings that skill set to the table. Nothing in this bill before us says a word about having a skill set to understand grants, program management, hiring employees, retaining employees to ensure that we've got the best workers here in the state of Maryland. It does not, in this bill, mention at all having a skill set that affords a department head to implement the laws that we in this chamber pass. I can share with you, our current Secretary of Aging was saddled with the responsibility of implementing legislation that I sponsored to create the only statewide senior call check service in the entire nation. And not only was it implemented, it has been flawless. And during the course of this pandemic, did an incredible job of ensuring that this daily wellness check for our seniors was in place, operational, and functioning at the highest level.
Senator, just one moment. Would the senator yield to the President Pro Tem, who I think has a motion?
I'd be happy to.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleague. I was going to ask Mr. President if I could, if this bill could be special ordered until a later calendar, maybe calendar 36.
Until after calendar 36?
After calendar 36.
Are there any objections to that? That's the House version of the bill.
Correct.
All right. If there are no objections, the bill will be special ordered to after calendar 36 has been completed. All right. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 726, Senator McCray, Transportation, Highway User Revenues, Revenue and Distribution.
Senate Bill 726 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move to have the bill move back to second reader for the purposes of an amendment.
All right, the senator is making the motion to reconsider the vote by which the bill
There we
passed
go.
second reader for the purpose of amendment. Let's check with the floor leader on the motion.
Yes, sir.
All right, there's no objection. Any objections on the motion? Without objection, the motion carries. The bill is now back on second reader and open to amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the senator's amendment. Senator, give us just a moment to load it up.
Okay, colleagues, this is just a sponsor amendment, so I ask for the adoption of the sponsor amendment.
Senators move the amendment. Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 726 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 806, Senator King, Child Care Providers and Employees Bonuses.
Senate Bill 806 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 806, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 868, Senator Lee, Developmental Disabilities Administration, Self-Directed Services, Self-Direction Act of 2022.
Senate Bill 868 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 868, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 919, Senator King, Child Care Capital Support Revolving Loan Fund established.
Senate Bill 919 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 919, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 1006, Senator Gazzoni, Hemp Farming Program, Use of Hemp and Hemp Products and Consumable Products.
Senate Bill 1006 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1006, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 1011, Senator Klossmeyer, Health Occupation Nurse Anesthetist Drug Authority.
Senate Bill 1011 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1011, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, let's do this consent calendar. This is calendar number 30. Clerk will read the first, will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 30, consent number 12.
All right, the two-bill JPR calendar of consent is coming here. There it goes. Does anyone wish to separate the two bills? All right, if not, any discussion? All right, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate bills on consent calendar number 12, House bills on consent calendar number 12, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Mr. President,
Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th District.
could I re-record in the green on that vote? Got the button a little late.
No worries. Senators move to be recorded in the green. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Chair recognizes the senator from District 12.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I change my vote from green to red on Senate Bill 1011?
Green to red on 1011. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Do we have the rules report ready for? Not yet. Okay. Let's do the next consent here. This is number 31. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 31, consent number 13.
All right, Senators, these are third reader House bills for final passage. There's about 10 bills here. Any bills that Senators wish to vote separately? If not, if we're ready for the question, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House bills on consent calendar number 13, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. Let's go to consent calendar, number 32. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 32, consent number 14.
Yes, Chair recognizes Chair of the committee.
I need to remove from consent calendar number 14, House Bill 1034 for a technical amendment.
1034 will be removed. Chair recognizes the senator from Prince George's.
Can we remove House Bill 6?
House Bill 6 removed. All right. Any further removals? If not, then we'll go to the two-bill finance consent calendar. This is 254 and 1219. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House bills on calendar 32, consent 14 have received a constitutional majority or declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 6, Delegate Cullison, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, dental coverage for adults.
All right, House Bill 6 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 6, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1034, Delegate Pena Melnick, State Board of Examiners of Nursing Home Administrators, renaming, licensure of assisted living managers, and penalties.
House Bill 1034, third reader, final passage. Chair recognizes the chair. Senator has an amendment. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee and has an amendment. If we could distribute the senator's amendment. Let's get it loaded up. All right, the senator has moved the amendment, technical amendment. Any discussion? Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. House Bill 1034 is now before us on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1034, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, senators, we're going to pause on the third readers for just a moment. And hopefully, we've got two special orders that are, hopefully we have the amendments, or we'll see. But let's recognize the chair of the Rules Committee.
If I may, I'd like to see members of the Rules Committee across the hall.
In the red room. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
Right now.
Right now. Excellent. All right. The Surgeon Arms will open the doors for members to process to the silver room. While we're missing folks. No, you're right. So hopefully these are not unnecessary. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, silver room. I think. All right. If this one's controversial, just let us know. This is Special Order Calendar 87. We have both of them. Are we able to do that one now? Let's try and bring up Special Order Calendar 87. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 613, Senator Wallstreicher, Commercial Vehicles, Non-Consensual Towing Requirements. Questions on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
Questions on the two amendments? Chair recognizes the senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the Vice Chair for working with me and giving me a better understanding of what now the bill is, and I am fine with the bill. And I want to thank him for that opportunity to just have a conversation. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Question, yes, Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th
Thank you,
District.
President. There was a little confusion on this bill, which I did vote for. And I'm just wondering if the Vice Chair could just give us a minute, because there was a deal worked out, and if he could just highlight that and clarify it, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for that question. What you have before you is a consensus bill between the towers and the truckers. And so the genesis of this bill is, as many of you know, large truckers go through our state and sometimes are disabled on the roadway. And when that happens, the tower that comes to assist them is not a tower they select. It is a tower on a list created by the Maryland State Police. And sometimes when that happens, disputes occur between the tower and the trucker. And the reason that is complicated is because the tower has the trucker's cargo as well as the truck. And so there needs to be some kind of dispute resolution process where truckers can get their vehicles and cargo back and get the cargo where it needs to go. Oftentimes the truckers don't even own the cargo that's in their truck. They're moving the product of other people. And of course now with a lot of these supply delays, it's important that this cargo get where it needs to go. And so the deal struck involves a number of aspects of this dispute resolution process and is supported by both sides, both the truckers and the towers. And it's a contingent upon a letter being signed by the chair of the Judicial Proceedings Committee as well as the chair of ENT to provide for further studies on issues that were not resolved in the legislation. And let me just give you some examples of what the issues that need to be resolved by that study are. So they will determine the number of towers on the Maryland State Police tow list. They'll determine the parameters for establishing fair and reasonable per-pound billing rates for police-initiated towing services. They'll determine the adequacy of charges. They'll determine the number and nature of complaints filed with the Maryland State Police. And they'll determine the number and nature of insurance complaints filed with the Maryland Insurance Administration. This study will have an interim report of findings and agreed upon recommendations presented to the relevant committees by December 1st of this year, with a final report due by October 2023. So everyone's on board and agreed upon with the legislation in front of you, and those things that remain unresolved will be determined during the study with everyone on the work group, all the relevant parties.
All right. Chair recognizes Senator from the 34th.
And just a dialogue, if I go with the...
Senator may proceed.
And I think, do we change is there a termination date or effective date change on this?
That's right. Certain provisions of the legislation before us will not take effect until 2023. They're delayed for this very study that we just discussed, and they'll be determined in that study.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just real quick comments. I mean, the challenge still remains on this bill that the towing companies come out and do the work, and it can be pretty sizable in a major accident. You get, it's a major recovery. And what we've got to make sure we do is provide assurances that these towers, who are often not major operations, are able to collect. It doesn't rise so much of a problem in-state towing, but you've got people traveling through 95 from all over the world, and so we've got to make sure that we provide them with the security when they release these vehicles, that they know they're going to be able to get their money out, and some kind of fair compensation. And that's the challenge we've got, and I hope that this study, we can resolve those issues and make sure we protect our towing companies. But thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair. Appreciate your answers.
Thank you. I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Chair recognizes Senator from District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Subcommittee Chair.
Senator may proceed.
So I think I'm the only person in this legislature who's ever had this problem. Driving a tractor trailer out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, dropped a drive shaft, and the Camp Hills police, they called, they had my truck towed, and I had the same thing. I had to go pay to get it out. So the two issues I saw that I was getting called from some of the towing companies was, one, the cargo that will this now allow another truck to come in and pull the cargo out of the truck, even if the towing company is going to hold the truck?
That's right. With certain documentation, perhaps insurance documentation or documentation from the owner of the cargo, the trucker can get the cargo back and make sure it gets where it needs to go without necessarily getting the truck back.
Thank you. And the other part was, I think, 20% down. So the trucking company can show up, and let's say the tow bill, we'll just use a round number, it's $1,000.
Yep.
They can pay $200, get the truck out of hock. Is that in there now?
That's in the bill, yes.
Okay, because that was one of the concerns that I've heard from some of the towing companies is, you have a truck coming out of Maine, he's driving through heading to Florida, what's his chance of paying the rest of the 80% that they still owe once they get the truck out of there, and you're going to take him to court and fight that. Is that part of the letter that you're going to try to resolve that?
That's right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, on the amendments, Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the floor leader yield for
Senator may proceed.
How are the tow rates set currently for these big tow jobs?
So the tow rates are set by the towers, and the truckers cannot choose whom to tow their disabled trucks.
Was this brought on by like one bad actor or something that charged an exorbitant amount and this got this started? What's the genesis of this?
I think it's very clear that the majority of towers and truckers are good actors. The truckers want to get their cargo where it needs to get gotten, and they want to be compensated for their load. The towers have really dangerous, tough jobs, and they want to be compensated for the work that they do, and they deserve to be compensated. But there's no question that the truckers believe that there are certain towers who are taking advantage of the circumstance to charge what the towers believe to be exorbitant rates, and that's the genesis of this bill.
Now, currently, couldn't they take them to court if it was too crazy of a number? Isn't there already the opportunity for them to sue that company if they think that they're being charged, say, double what everybody else is charging? Isn't that already an option?
So there's no specific law setting limits on rates, so it would be, you could litigate it, but it'd be hard to argue that somehow the rate was incorrect because you have no legal remedy about what the rate is.
Okay. Being in the fire company, I know with, dealing with vehicle wrecks, the state police or whoever has the list of who's going to come out to do the tows for, different roads and whatnot. So I'm familiar with that list, but under this, Maryland State Police will be setting the rates?
No, the Maryland State Police would not be setting the rates under the bill. As the bill came in, there would be a rate setting process. As the bill is amended and agreed upon by both the towers and the truckers would have to submit a rate sheet to Maryland State Police. And so that rate sheet would essentially control what the rates are that they could then charge the truckers. So everyone would kind of walk in with their eyes wide open.
Okay, just one final question, if I may. I heard mention from one of our colleagues earlier about Interstate 95. Is this bill specific to one road, or is it just, is it
not.
interstate highways? Is it state roads?
It's only state roads.
Only state roads?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, question remains on the two committee amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 613 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to Special Order Calendar number 88, same bill. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 487, Delegate Foley, Commercial Vehicles, Police-Initiated Towing Requirements. Questions on the adoption of the committee amendment and the favorable report.
Question is on the one committee amendment. Chair recognizes the senator from District 6.
We're good.
All good. All right. On the amendment, any discussion, any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 487 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. We've got Special Order Calendar number 89. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 192, Baltimore County Delegation, Baltimore County Board of Education, Student Member, Voting and Training. Question is on the adoption of the favorable report.
Question is on the adoption of the favorable committee report. Let's do the report first. Any discussion on the report? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Senator from District 12 has an amendment. Pages will please collect and distribute the senator's amendment.
Mr. President,
yes, Senator.
while it's being distributed, would it be appropriate if I just did a quick introduction?
Sure, yes.
Thank
certainly
you for
proceed.
that, Mr. President. Colleagues, I didn't even realize it, but I guess all of our interns are leaving us today, at least mine is, and I just wanted to take a quick opportunity and say thank you to Bobby Morris, University of Maryland, Fear the Turtle. Thank you for all your help in keeping the trains running on time in my office. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. Welcome. All right, Senator from District 12 can explain the amendment.
Sure. So the amendment that's been distributed actually brings this bill in line with the original description of the bill earlier today. It requires that the Baltimore County Public School System develop a curriculum for board training, and that would include training on operating and capital budgets, and that each member has to complete that training within 2 months to be able to vote on budgetary matters. Move the adoption of the amendment.
All right, Chair, Senators move the amendment. Chair recognizes Senator from District 4.
I got a question on the amendment. So
Senator,
just
may
so I
proceed.
understand this bill, I know it's a local bill, and we've kind of crossed the Rubicon on letting students vote, but just so I understand what we're doing here, we're going to have 16 or 17-year-olds in Baltimore County. It's going to be, I think your school budget's about $2 billion. The state here gives them about $1 billion. And how long is this training going to be on for the 16 or 17-year-olds that are going to be voting on a $1 billion budget here, or $2 billion budget?
The training will be, it's going to depend on how it's developed by the Baltimore County Public School System.
Fascinating. So these are 16 or 17-year-olds that may not even know how to sign a check, and we're going to train them to do a $2 billion budget.
Well, a 17-year-old could sign up to join the military.
I said they probably don't know how to sign a check. Maybe they're smarter than me. I didn't know how to sign a check till I was 18, went in the Air Force, and they showed me, but maybe they do know how. But so that's what this bill does, is a 17-year-old can now vote on your $2 billion budget in Baltimore County for education, and you're going to do a training which is undefined here, totally undefined, and we're going to let them vote on it, huh?
Well, it does provide some basic definitions. It says that it has to focus on operating capital budget, and it would have to be developed so that they can take it within 2 months of when they were elected.
I didn't hear the end of what you said.
They have to take this course within 2 months of having been elected in order to be able to vote on the budget.
Okay. I would just be very interested to see what we're teaching high schoolers how to do $1 billion budgets. That'd be a fascinating class, so thank you.
All right, on the amendment, any further discussion on the amendment? Chair recognizes Senator from the 34th District.
Just a comment. So I'm going to vote in favor of this bill because it's a local bill. I don't agree with having 17-year-olds vote, but it's a local bill about education. I would just hope that other county bills dealing with Board of Educations would receive similar deference because they're local bills. Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. Duly noted. All right.
As the
Sorry.
Baltimore
Chair,
County.
sorry, we have a Senator from Anne Arundel, and then it's followed by the Senator from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the bill, if I could speak on the bill.
We're on the amendment.
On the amendment, it's a great amendment. Just speaking on behalf of Senator from Anne Arundel County, we have a student board member who, time and again, has frankly been the most well engaged, the most well read, the most prepared member of our board for a number of years now. And I know we can have a debate all day long about student members of boards. As a former student member of a board, Board of Regents, University System of Maryland, dealing with many billions of dollars of budgets, if we don't have faith in our students to make these decisions, again, it's a thorough vetting process established here, then what does that say about our own education systems? I think this extra layer, this extra training before they vote on these budgets is an excellent amendment, and I want to commend the floor leader for that amendment. Thank you.
Senator from Baltimore County.
My concern is that while the intent of the bill is to deal just with student members, the amendment does not say that this is just for the student board members. It says they're going to train the members of the board. That would be all of the members, as if the adults on the board don't already know how to read. I think the amendment is flawed, given what I think your intent is.
All right, on the amendment, let's hear from the floor leader.
I think the intent is to make sure that all members of the board have adequate training on operating and capital budgetary matters. And so not every member that's appointed or elected to the board might have that background, and so I think this is still useful and helpful to ensure that all members that are going to be voting on the same matters have this education.
Do we have a delegation discussion about this amendment?
No.
Was it? Wait. Okay, hold on. One moment. All right. So the amendment has been moved. Senator from Baltimore County on the amendment. It appears there was a delegation vote. Is what the representation from the delegation. Let's check with the Baltimore County
Yes.
delegation chair.
Yes, we did have it, and on Monday, we had a discussion. But you were unable to be there for that discussion. And exactly what you said is what we decided to do. And I believe it was unanimous, the vote was unanimous to put on there for training for everyone on the board.
All right, Senator, let's wait till let's hear from someone who has not yet spoken. Let's hear from Senator from Montgomery County on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. As an old former school board member, we went over this for years and years about the student board member. And let me first say, the Maryland Association of Boards of Education does an extensive training of new board members. They offer that training every cycle so that people have that background for the budget. But there's also, I know from my own county, extensive training for board members and the student board member included. And I would agree with my colleague in the back there. I have watched the student board members for many, many years, and they pick the cream of the crop anyway, but they also work as hard or harder than many of the adult members, and they know that budget as well as the adults do.
All right, thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from the 44th District on the amendment.
Thank you very much. This was an amendment that I had proposed in delegation, simply because I thought that not only did our student member need this type of training, but our county executive had an analysis done, and our board lacked training in a number of areas. So this was something to make certain that everybody was on par. I mean, you're talking about a huge budget for people who are appointed, who are elected, as well as the student member, and we just thought that it was fair, and it was unanimous, as our chair noted, of the members that were present.
All right, on the amendment, let's do a voice vote on the amendment. Chair recognizes the senator from District 4.
I just want to make one other point. I'm starting to listen to this. Where's the training for members of the Maryland General Assembly? We voted on the whole state capital. We just did the capital budget today. We do an operating budget. We have an orientation, but we don't have a training. And this amendment, quite frankly, to go, again, it's a local bill, but it's a terrible precedent. It was a terrible precedent to allow the students to vote, but this one says required for the adults now, too, to do training. Here we are, adults, members of the Maryland General Assembly. We just voted through the whole state capital budget and the operating budget. There's zero training requirement for us on this. This is just, I think, a bad amendment.
All right, on the amendment, Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County.
If you're going to do the training, I don't have a problem with that, but this has the school system doing the training. I think that could be biased, and they aren't the ones to train the board members as to how to read the budget.
All right, well,
Not do it.
here we are. We got an amendment before us. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Yeah, I just want to correct for the record, it is not precedent setting. Anne Arundel County has had a school board member for 30 years, 40 years with all these rights and responsibilities.
Okay, all right, we've got the amendment. Let's do a voice vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment's adopted. All right, we now have do we have any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 192 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Let's do this one last special order. This is number 90. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 468, Delegate Ivy, Public School Employees, Whistleblower Protection, Civil Actions. Questions on the adoption of the favorable report.
All right, question is on the adoption of the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District.
Just a question for the floor leader, if I could.
Who's the, Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you. So this was opposed by May, even by Anne Arundel County, right?
Thank you. Yes, Mabe and Anne Arundel County.
All right. And so currently, what the law says is that you can file a grievance basically, or make a complaint to administrative body, and then administrative body within the school system rules, and if you don't like that ruling, then you can go ahead and file a suit in the circuit court or whatever level, but you can file a suit on it, right? That's the current law.
Yeah, well, yeah, in 2017, the Whistleblower Protection Act was passed.
Right.
And a part of the negotiation of that was to provide this provision that required the employee to utilize all available procedures. And the thought was that this provision would sort of balance, the ability to investigate. But what the committees have found, and as you can see, it's a 100%, everyone has voted for it, that essentially what this provision ends up doing is that it's empowering the local boards to delay the process. And then also there was a broader issue of, did we really have the right to limit an individual's ability to file a civil action? So all committees felt uncomfortable with that. We've had 5 years of it in action. It has resulted in delay. We've really, without fully affording an individual the right to utilize the full range of options. So that's why we're removing it from Maryland law.
I just speak on the bill then, if I could, Mr. President. So,
Senator may proceed.
So the current law says, yeah, you can file a suit, but first you have to do this administrative action. And now what the bill says is, you don't have to do the administrative action. So we have these administrative actions in a lot of our civil rights acts, or civil rights statute. First you go before the Maryland Commission of Human Relations, then you file a lawsuit. But you do that middle step, it's essential to try to avoid litigation, because oftentimes you can get an administrative agency, administrative body can say, hey, wait a minute, I know this guy made the decision, but let's have everybody look at this more slowly and deliberatively and reverse course. So you avoid litigation, you resolve problems at a low level, it's inexpensive. And all this bill is saying now is, no, you can do that, but you can just go ahead and file suit against the school if you want to. And I think that's a bad, I think the whole administrative law process, which we've supported in every other area, is a really good process to say, let's try to resolve things short of litigation. It's quick. I know the changes made in the bill to, the changes that were made in the bill to expedite that process, those were good changes. So you say you have like 30 days or whatever to resolve it. So we could have resolved all this by simply putting those change deadlines, but now we've said, no, you just can skip that whole administrative process. I think it's not a good precedent. It's not what we ought to be discouraging litigation, encouraging use to these administrative bodies. I have no problem with saying, hey, you got to resolve this in 2 weeks. You got a week. You got 10 days. I don't have any problem with that. But to say, hey, just skip the whole thing, because it's not good. And of course, people are going to have an attorney who's going to say, yeah, let's file litigation. But that doesn't serve the interests of the community, the schools, et cetera. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill does not allow, does not allow there to be an administrative opportunity to negotiate and to avoid litigation. What it does do, it does allow that to happen concurrently. And also, in contrast to what was just proffered, that it's shortening the length of time, it actually increases the length of time an additional three months. So this is good policy. It's protecting the rights of individual employees to exercise the rights that they have under Maryland law to take civil actions when they are wronged.
All right, on the favorable report, Chair recognizes the minority whip.
Mr. President, could I ask the floor leader if she would be willing to yield?
Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Yeah, thank you. You just said something in response that I'm curious about. So this is saying it can happen concurrently, and you said they put some time limits in it? So, because the way I read the bill, based on both the opposition and the support, is that it's removing it so they can go right to take civil action.
Yeah, you can do it at the same time.
At the same time, meaning, sorry to interrupt, at the same time, meaning you file the thing with the school system, whatever the process is, and you can go to court at the same time.
Yes.
What did you mean about if you don't mind me asking, what did you mean about the 3 months?
Actually, that was an error. I was thinking of another bill.
Oh, okay, okay.
Thank you for allowing me to
okay, so
get that.
So thank you very much.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
basically, it's saying that instead of going through a process, and I agree with my friend from Harford County, if this bill was saying, hey, School systems are making you go through an ambiguous process and it's taking months and months, and this bill is seeking to put some guardrails on that and go for 30 days, then or whatever, then I would say, yeah, that makes sense. But to say you can just go ahead and get into court the second you feel you've got something, and then you go to the process, to me that's like when you're at a restaurant and something is wrong with the food that you're brought. If the proper process would be to tell the server, and if the server says, oh, let me take care of that, you don't then go complain to the manager because the server's taking care of it. The server doesn't want to take care of it, then you complain to the manager. This is like saying you get a bad meal, you should leave the restaurant and go file charges with the police. We ought to be doing things in an orderly fashion. Many times you could have a situation where someone feels they found something wrong. They should go through the school system process to give the school system the chance to identify and make corrections and to mitigate before you take them to court. Court should be the last resort. So I have a lot of concerns about this bill, not because it's seeking to clarify, because again, I think if you put time limits on it, that would make sense. To say, hey, if the school system doesn't take action or doesn't deal with this within a certain amount of time, but to just say, nope, you can go ahead and go right to court, I think that's pretty reckless. And I think we should not do that. I'd urge the body to resist this bill.
All right, on the report, any further discussion? If not, question is on the report. All in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments, excuse me, amendments to the bill or the title? Seeing none, House Bill 468 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, let's, do we have everybody? Let's go back to this third reading calendar now that we have everybody back. We've got a consent calendar. This is calendar number 33. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 33, consent number 15.
All right, Senators, these are bills, third reader, final passage. We've got 6 bills here. Any bills that Senators wish to separate?
Thank you.
If not, on the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, the House bills on calendar number 33, consent 15, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. Let's go to third reading calendar number 34. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 27, Delegate Lukey, Historic Revitalization and Enterprise Zone Tax Credits, Alterations, and Eligibility.
House Bill 27 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 27, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 69, Delegate Ampry, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, Real Property Assessments and Appeals.
House Bill 69 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 69, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 89, Delegate Queen, State Department of Education, Child Care Stabilization Grants. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 89 is on third reader for final passage. This is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 89, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 285, Delegate D. Jones, Property Tax Credit, Disabled Law Enforcement Officers and Rescue Workers, Federal Police and Criminal Investigators.
House Bill 285 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 285, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 325, Delegate D. Barnes, State Procurement Payment Practices.
House Bill 325 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 325 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 680, Baltimore County Delegation, Baltimore County Property Tax Credit Supermarkets.
House Bill 680 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 680 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 744, Delegate Learman, State Retirement and Pension System Administration, Clarifications and Corrections.
House Bill 744 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 744 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 763, Delegate Bridges, Correctional Officers Retirement System Membership.
Chair recognizes, House Bill 763 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to reconsider the vote on second reading for the purpose of withdrawing the committee amendment.
All right, so we will, there's move to reconsider the vote that the bill passed from second to third. Are there any objections to the senator's motion? Without objection, the motion carries. House Bill 763 is now on second reader with an adopted report. So the senator now moves to reconsider the vote by which we adopted the favorable report.
Yes.
So any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Now reconsider the vote by which we adopted the committee amendments.
Yes.
So moved. All right, any objections to the motion? Without objection, the motion carries. So we now have before us the committee amendments and the favorable report. Senator now has substitute amendments.
No, I just want to move to withdraw the committee amendment.
Senator moves to withdraw the committee amendments. Are there any objections to the motion to withdraw the amendments? No objection. The motion carries. On the favorable report?
Move to to approve this favorable report.
Chairman now moves to adopt the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 763 is hereby ordered passed to third reading. Do we want two in one day? Or no, we're fine. All right. Let's do this. Let's get this Rules Committee to schedule. This is report out of Rules number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 838, Delegate Buckle, Economic Development, Western Maryland Economic Future Investment Board, and Senator George C. Edwards Fund Establishment, re-referred to B&T.
Majority Leader moves so we consider the reading of the rules. Chair recognizes the Chair of the Rules Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules Committee did meet, and we do agree that this bill should move forward.
And, and all three, Madam Chair? We're on all three. The entire calendar is ready to go. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
We did vote favorably on the entire calendar. Do we?
All set then. Then in that case, the bills will be referred to their appropriate standing committees.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Do we read the bills, the bill numbers, so that everyone would be aware?
We waive the reading of them, but for sake of clarity, we can read those two additional ones.
Thank you very much.
House Bill 896, Chair Appropriations Committee, Maryland Stadium Authority, increase of bond authorization, Camden Yards, re-referred to B&T. House Bill 897, Chair Appropriations Committee, Economic Development, Sports Entertainment Facilities and Events, Prince George's County, Blue Line Corridor Facilities and Racing Facilities, re-referred to B&T.
All right, bills are re-referred to their appropriate standing committees. We have a not concur. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 461, Senator Griffith, State Finance and Procurement Procedures and Pricing and Selection Committee for Preferred Providers, B&T.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the committee.
Let's see how I do with this one. The House amendment strike clarifying and correcting provisions pertaining to DeWitt's role in state procurement. We do not, the budget and tax does not concur. Not concurring consistent with the committee's amendments to House Bill 1205, which struck provisions that would have given DeWitt additional procurement authority. Rejecting the House amendments maintains that the status quo of the procurements going through DGS.
And the senator moves that we not concur.
Not to concur.
Senator moves that we not concur. Are there any discussion on the senator's motion? Any opposition? Without opposition, the motion carries. The Senate does not concur. Clerk will read the message.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Said bill is returned herewith by order Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
Message having been read is ordered adopted. We now have a little bit more friendly concurrence out of B&T. This is calendar number 20. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 215, Chair Budget and Taxation Committee, Income Tax, Energy Storage Tax Credit, Alterations and Extension, Budget and Taxation.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments strike the increase in the total amount of credits and the authorization for refundability. The House amendments turn the tax credit into a grant program beginning in 2025. Budget and Tax concurs with the amendments. Moves to concur.
All right, the chairman moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections to the concurrence? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 215 is now before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 215, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 247, Senator Hayes, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, Real Property Assessments and Appeals, Budget and Taxation.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House amendments.
The House amendments alter SSTAT to an appeal authority for notification to the local governments after reducing assessments on commercial property. This conforms the Senate bill to the House bill as passed by the Senate. Move to concur with the amendments.
Chairman moves that we concur, that the Senate concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections to the motion? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 247 is again before us on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their votes? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 247, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 310, Senator Elfreth, Anne Arundel County and City of Annapolis, Small Minority and Women-Owned Business Account, Local State of Emergency, Budget and Taxation.
Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee on the House amendments.
The House amendments limit the grant amount to no more than the proceeds from VLTs in Anne Arundel County that are deposited into the Small Minority Women-Owned Business Account Fund. The committee concurs with the amendments.
The chairman moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 310 is now again before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 310, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We were so close, just 2 hours off. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 474, Senator Edwards, Economic Development, Western Maryland Economic Future Investment Board and Fund Establishment, Budget and Taxation.
Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee on the House amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments change the name of the fund to our good friend, the senator from Western Maryland, and alter the required amounts of funding to be provided to the fund. The committee concurs with the amendments. Move to concur.
Chairman moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any objection, any discussion? Any objection to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. The Senate Bill 474 is now before us on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? Clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 474, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 567, Senator Elfrith, Property Tax, Agriculture Use Assessment, Improvements, Budget, and Taxation.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the Floor Amendments, House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House struck the bill and instead required a study and report on agricultural accessory use improvements and how they are assessed. The committee concurs with the amendments. Move to concur.
All right. Chairman moves that we concur with the amendments. Any discussion? Any objection to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Question, Senate Bill 567 is now before the body again on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 567, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We've got third reading calendar number 35. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 373, Delegate Resnick, State Post-Mortem Examiners Commission, Minimum Staffing Requirements.
House Bill 373 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 373, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 526, Prince George's County Delegation and Montgomery County Delegation, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, Plumbing and Fuel Gas Services, Licenses and Penalties.
House Bill 526 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 526, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 527, St. Mary's County Delegation, St. Mary's County Emergency Service Applicants, Polygraph Examinations.
House Bill 527 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? Yes, Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th District.
I might ask the floor leader a question.
Will the floor leader yield for a question out of Finance? Finance? 527. Chair recognizes the floor leader, the 36th District. Senator may proceed.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Before I vote on this, I was just curious, is there some issue that why we don't want polygraph examinations being done? I mean, what's the situation?
As a local bill, if I could refer to the delegation chair.
Sure, thank you.
All right, let's hear from the senator from St. Mary's.
Thank you. This bill actually says that we can give polygraphs to them.
Okay. Thank
Yes,
you very
that's
much.
exactly, it was a double negative, but it does say yes, that's what the bill is, the
Trying to
intention.
give the Thank you.
Got it. All right. Third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 527, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 753, Delegate D. Jones, Primary and Secondary Schools Bus Driver Wages Study. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 753 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 753, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 971, Delegate Kipke, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, Substance Abuse Treatment Network Adequacy.
House Bill 971 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 971, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1020, Delegate K. Young, Developmental Disabilities Administration, Self-Directed Services, Self-Direction Act of 2022.
House Bill 1020 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1020, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1078, Delegate Pena Melnick, Cannabis Regulation Delta 8 and Delta 10 Tetrahydrocannabinol.
Ooh, House Bill 1078. That was good. That was good. Is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1078, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1336, Delegate Bridges, Greater Baltimore Transit Governance and Funding Commission.
House Bill 1336 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1336, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We've got a concurrence calendar. Let's see here. Out of judicial proceedings, this is number 22. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 17, Senator West, Child Custody Cases Involving Child Abuse or Domestic Violence, Training for Judges, JPR.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee on the House amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee votes to concur.
All right, on the amendments?
On the amendments.
Technical, all right, on the
Sorry, I
amendments?
just got this.
Any objection to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 17 is now again before the body on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 17, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 357, Senator Benson, Adult Protective Services Work Group to Study Best Practices for Vulnerable Adult Registry in Maryland, JPR.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. My apologies, just in receipt of this. So the committee voted to concur with the amendments. The amendments adopted by the House alter the membership of the work group. No General Assembly members. They changed the reporting date. Report due now is June 1st, 2023 instead of December 1st, 2022. And the last one makes technical changes. I move adoption of the concurrence.
Move to concur. So, Chairman moves to concur on the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 357 is back before the body on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 357, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. 36, calendar 36. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 22, Delegate Charkoudian, Animal Welfare, Declawing Cats, Prohibited Acts.
House Bill 22 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 22, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 24, Delegate Lukey, Cybersecurity Scholarship Program Alterations.
House Bill 24 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 24, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 55, Delegate Cullison, Health Occupations, Nurse Anesthetist Drug Authority.
House Bill 55 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 55, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 139, Delegate Lukey, Correctional Education, Juvenile Services, Education Program, and Correction Education Teachers.
House Bill 139 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 139, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 172, Delegate Lukey, Income Tax Subtraction Modification Union Dues.
House Bill 172 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 172, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 191, Delegate Lehman, Department of Agriculture, Spay Neuter Fund Extension and Report.
House Bill 191 is on third reader, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 191, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 430, Delegate Kerr, Human Services, Secretary of Aging Qualifications.
House Bill 430 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? Chair recognizes the Senator from Montgomery County. On the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the bill, colleagues, when last we were discussing this bill, I left off with my discussion with regard to all of the things that we might actually want a department head to be capable of doing. The actual skill set that is in fact necessary to run a state agency effectively, efficiently, and to ensure that our residents are best served. One of the things that is incorporated in this bill is that, again, a nominee must demonstrate a commitment to the mission of the Federal Older Americans Act. And I'll address that a little bit further momentarily. But colleagues, what needs to be understood is that every state agency has employees, has staff, has an attorney general's, assistant attorney general embedded in that agency. At no point in time do we ever have an expectation that the administrator running the department is to have extensive knowledge of all things that are part of that agency. And yet, here we require this particular secretary to demonstrate a commitment to the missions of the Federal Older Americans Act, which, by the way, if you Google it, not all that difficult to quickly glean what it does and why it was implemented in 1965. Once again, colleagues, when you start talking about the slippery slope, this slippery slope is a mile wide, and the slope is covered with oil over top of permafrost. And once we all start bouncing down this slope, folks, buckle up for the ride. Let's take a look where we might be going forward. Because if this is going to be our policy, if we are going to say executive nominations is incapable of participating in the vetting process of our department heads, Why bother with executive nominations at all? Why don't we just place in statute all of the requirements that we expect our department heads to have? So maybe going forward, since we are requiring this secretary to have extensive knowledge of the Federal Older Americans Act, why don't we require that the Secretary of Housing have a commitment and extensive knowledge of the Federal Fair Housing Act? Maybe that's a bill for next year. If we are going to require this secretary to demonstrate a commitment to the missions of the Federal Older Americans Act, maybe the Secretary of the Transportation going forward should have that same demonstrated commitment to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Colleagues, perhaps going forward, the Secretary of the Department of Environment should demonstrate a commitment to the missions of the Federal Clean Car Act. And why don't we put in statute that the Secretary of Environment demonstrate that same commitment to the Federal Clean Water Act? And why would we leave out not having a commitment to the Federal Endangered Species Act? Shouldn't that be part of what our Secretary of the Environment should be able to do going forward? Finally, colleagues, maybe going forward, it will be incumbent upon us to legislate that the Secretary of Agriculture will be well-versed and have extensive experience with and knowledge of the varieties of hybrid corn types best suited for Maryland's unique climate here in the Mid-Atlantic. And equally important, the life cycle of the corn borer and the boll weevil to ensure that those corn crops grow to their full capacity. And then, in wrapping up, colleagues, going forward, it might be very important to ensure that our Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources be well-versed in all things shell and spat, as well as the migratory behavior of the Canadian goose, in addition to extensive experience and knowledge of the duck hunting season, and yes, its interaction with wabbit season. Colleagues, this is a silly bill. It's unnecessary. It's unprecedented until this session, when I was assured, don't worry about it setting precedents. Evidently, though, it has. Colleagues, because I respect the process, I respect our governor, I respect the Executive Nominations Committee, I'll be putting up a red vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from District 3, Chair of the Executive Nominations Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. In a much shorter form, I agree with my good friend. We just did one. This is the second one. If we start doing one a year, I'm not going to be here, but we'll be doing a secretary a year for the next 10 or 15 years. We do have executive noms. I feel that in most cases, and it's how executive noms is operated, they're the governor's appointments, and we take them unless they're totally unqualified. I know we've turned down one in the past administration who was totally unqualified. Otherwise, we've tended to give the benefit of the doubt to the governor. So unless we become like Washington, which I pray to God we never do, we're going to approve most of the governor, whatever party he is, secretaries. But if we want to have qualifications, I think we should have one simple thing for all secretaries that says something like they shall live in Maryland while they're serving. They should have a degree and/or relevant experience to whatever the job is, and that they should have some management experience, period. And have that as a general thing, rather than to start writing different criteria for every secretary. I agree it's going down a road I don't think we should go.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also will be brief. I oppose this bill for the same reason I was concerned about the one with the Secretary of Health. This bill, in some ways, is worse than the Secretary of Health bill because there are three provisions. One is you have to commitment to the mission of the agency. Obviously, you should. Nothing wrong with that provision. But the other two are really irrelevant. One is a college degree. It doesn't say which a college degree is in. Number one. And number two is there are a number of very qualified people in the state. There are a number of very qualified people in this room who don't have college degrees, who have a lot of experience, who I dare to say could be excellent secretaries of a variety of departments. They wouldn't qualify under this because of the college degree requirement. And I'm not against college degrees. I represent College Park. They're great. But third, the technical requirements in this bill are much tighter than they were in the health bill, the health secretary bill. And that's this technical understanding of the Federal Aging Act, Older Americans Act. That is exactly what you have staff for. That's exactly what you, as the gentleman said, you have an assistant attorney general for. That's exactly why you have professional civil servants to bring that kind of expertise to help the leader of the department, the manager of the department, who's supposed to have a broader view, who's supposed to understand how to integrate with the other agencies of state government. We've had this discussion in B&T about the health department and the social services department, the Department of Human Resources, about lack of coordination. You want your top people to be really good at integrating, not at being narrow. So for those reasons, I oppose the bill.
All right. Chair recognizes the senator from District 11 on the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to talk about the origin of this bill. This bill came to me from the Maryland Association of Area Agencies on Aging. Those are representatives, those are folks on the ground in each of our districts across the state, the 19 local area agencies on aging who strongly support this bill. These are people who are on the ground day in and day out working to carry out everything we want them to do, all the programming with older adults. They have deep expertise. We have deep expertise across this state. And the field of aging has changed tremendously over the past number of years. There are limited state and federal resources that serve this growing population, and we need a leader who has expertise in this area to step into the job on day one, ready to go. One of the important differences between this position and the others that were mentioned by my colleague from Montgomery County is that over 50% of the budget comes from the federal government and comes via the Older Americans Act. Contrary to what was said earlier, we are not requiring that anybody have any expertise in that Older Americans Act. The bill says, and I quote, demonstrate a commitment to the mission of both the Federal Older Americans Act and the department. And what is that mission? That mission says, quote, to provide services with preference given to older individuals with the greatest economic and social need, with particular attention to low-income minority individuals with limited English proficiency and older adults residing in rural areas. We have a silver tsunami coming. These are people across this state, many of whom we hear directly from day in and day out, who need to know that resources that are coming into this state are being directed in a really appropriate manner by people who have the expertise and leadership and knowledge. We are not putting any specific, no specifications about what their experience is, other than that they have demonstrated a commitment to that very important funding source, and they have experience and knowledge about laws, legislation, and regulations relating to aging. So I don't think that we are so narrowly prescribing that that we're tying the hands of our next governor. And we are not taking anything away from the executive nominations process. We're just ensuring that during that vetting process, that we have a governor that is looking to that expertise here in Maryland, and similar to the Secretary of Disabilities, which we did over a decade ago, that we are following the same sorts of practice that we did there. When this bill came to me, I had no knowledge of what was happening with the Secretary of Health. This was done in a completely separate manner, and I supported that bill. I'd also like to say that this bill came out of the House unanimously. It came out of the House committee unanimously. It was voted out of the Finance Committee with just 2 no votes. And I think our older adults, our constituents, our aging community and population deserve to have a Secretary of Aging who is ready on day one to carry out the duties of that office. And so I asked for your support because I think this is an important bill that provides just some guidance to the next governor. It is not overly prescriptive. It is providing some guidance, and I think it's the least we deserve, the least we owe our older constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just really want to first commend the committee for, bringing this bill up, having a deliberative conversation about it, and I appreciate the remarks from the floor leader. My sense is that I think, best to get this right. My suggestion would be that we recommit to the committee to reevaluate and see where we are with it. I move to recommit.
Senators move to recommit the bill to committee. On the senator's motion, chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
I think it would be kind of sad to recommit it. We obviously have something going on the floor, and several people are now unhappy because of the way the bill was explained to us initially. When you think about the fact that older Americans in all of our districts aren't really able, in many cases, to know where to come with their needs, their concerns, their problems, with the fact that maybe in many cases they don't know if they're going to be evicted or how they're going to eat or how they will get the health care that they need. It's nothing wrong with saying, I believe, as 9 of the 11 members of Finance did say, and as the House unanimously said, that the person ought to have some knowledge and awareness of what that major act requires, that is the basis of 50% of or more of the funding to do anything for these people who, they aren't going to write us nice memoranda telling us what's going on. They will suffer in silence. If we need a new Secretary of Aging to be some months or some years getting up to snuff on things like that. They can be very smart people. But if you don't have some knowledge of where the funding is coming from and of what is covered and of the needs of the population you're trying to serve, I think it would be sad. These are persons very largely vulnerable and with great needs. They suffer in silence in many places where we will never go. And I just don't think there is a problem with the bill. Of course, the majority is going to rule, and I also respect that. Thank you.
All right, questions on the motion to recommit. On the motion, let's do a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to recommit, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The bill will be recommitted to the standing committee. All right, clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 496, Delegate Valderrama, Commission on the Establishment of a Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program.
All right, House Bill 496 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 496, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 854, Delegate Wilkins, Alcoholic Beverages, Maryland Alcohol Manufacturing and Promotion.
House Bill 854 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 854, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we have a message from the House. Clerk will read the first message.
House Bill 83, Delegate Atterbury Family Law, Authorization for a Minor to Marry, by the Majority Leader.
Yep, one moment.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Clippinger chair, Delegate Bartlett, Delegate Shetty. Said bill is returned herewith by order Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the next message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not recede in the Senate amendment and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The House has appointed Delegate Clippinger chairman, Delegate Bartlett, Delegate Shetty. The Senate appoints Senator Smith chair, Senator Carter, Senator Huff. Said bill is returned herewith by order Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
Message having been read is ordered adopted. Surprise fight right there. Buy tickets for that conference committee. All right, let's go to calendar 37. Clerk, oh yes, Chair recognizes Senator from Baltimore County.
I just want to make sure I was read on 496, I believe.
On 496, Senator wishes to be recorded in the red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Calendar 37, clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 305, Delegate Kerr, Financial Institution Presumption of Property Abandonment Revisions.
House Bill 305 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 305, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 617, Delegate Lisanti, Property Tax Credit for Surviving Spouses of Fallen Service Members.
House Bill 617 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 617, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 993, Delegate Ebersol, Child Care Capital Support Revolving Loan Fund established.
House Bill 993 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 993, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1100, Delegate Queen, Child Care Providers and Employee Bonuses.
House Bill 1100 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1100, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1187, Delegate Anderton, Transportation Highway User Revenues, Revenue and Distribution.
House Bill 1187 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1187, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1196, Delegate C Branch, Tax Sales Alternative Collection Programs.
House Bill 1196 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1196, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1253, Delegate Wilson, Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, clarification.
House Bill 1253 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes the senator from Frederick City.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I special order this till Monday?
All right. Any objections to the senator's special order? Without objection, the bill will be special ordered to the appropriate time on Monday. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1254, Delegate Wilson, Maryland State Board of Contract Appeals, position law clerks.
House Bill 1254 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1254 having received... No, that's not correct, is it? Weren't we on 1446? No? Okay. 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1254 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1446, Delegate Solomon, Universities at Shady Grove Regional Higher Education Center, Workforce Development Programs funding.
House Bill 1446 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1446, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We got a consent calendar, number 38, out of Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 38, consent number 16.
All right, Senators, these are House bills on third reader for final passage, local alcohol bills. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House bills on calendar 38, consent 16, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. We've got a layover calendar, number 59. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1202, Delegate P. Young, Local Government Cybersecurity Coordination and Operations Local Cybersecurity Support Act of 2022. Questions on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
All right, question before the Senate is the two committee amendments. Chair recognizes Senator from District 7 on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the floor leader yield for some questions?
Senator may proceed.
So looking at the bill, kind of been skimming through it. Just a couple questions on this one. So within, it looks like we're building a new department within MEMA, the Cyber Preparation or Preparedness Unit.
We are codifying the existing cyber preparation unit within
Okay.
the Maryland Department of Emergency Management. It exists already.
Okay, thank you. So as I was comparing the two bills, we have a lot of language that is duplicative in this bill as well as 1346.
You are correct.
Okay, why are we doing that?
That is the way the bills came in. Because our state CISO and the Office of Security Management are in both bills, and we're codifying existing practice, but it hasn't been codified before, in order to mention the state CISO in either bill, you have to do the whole thing. But you are correct. Roughly starting on page 10 of this bill, it's all repetitive with 1346.
Okay. Now, is the state prepared to get all this stuff done by the October effective date of this bill?
In 1202?
Well, no, I guess more on 1346. I mean, everything that you're saying is duplicative.
So the stuff that's duplicative is current practice. We're codifying the executive order that Governor Hogan put in 2019 called the Defense Initiative.
Okay.
And so it's already there.
All right. because that was my question. On the last page of the bill, this kind of surprised me that this is actually an emergency legislation in the uncodified language.
Yes. So the emergency legislation is because there's $550 million in the governor's budget this year for cybersecurity preparedness and information technology upgrades. And we need to use some of that money for the purposes of this bill. And in particular, you'll notice that both of this bill and the other bill created a new, codified the existing information sharing and analysis center.
Yes.
But we're expanding it beyond the state to help us share our information with the local school systems, the local health departments, the local units of government. They need to know as much as we know at the state level. And that sharing requires an interchanger, and that interchanger requires money.
Okay, because again, earlier when I was asking for the special order, these are all just questions that I've been getting as I'm reading through it. People asking, why is this emergency legislation? So I appreciate that explanation. Mr. President, that's all I have on this bill at this time.
All right. Any further discussion of the amendments? Chair recognizes the minority leader on the two committee amendments.
Thank you. I've actually had time to read the bill now. And it was interesting, the discussion we just had on a bill we recommitted. And I noticed in this bill, and we had a little discussion in the committee, that we have a position that we send to the Senate for advice and consent, but then we put a lot of qualifications that that person has to have, and if they don't have it, then they can't apply for the job. And I think some of them are very specific. So why put it so specific in the law that would make the pool smaller, that we possibly can't get the best person and leave it up to the executive noms? Typically, you're not going to put an accountant and put it before the Senate. They're going to go out there, they're going to do a nationwide search, get the best person they can, bring it to the executive noms, and they'll go through their resume in detail and say, yep, that's a great person, or we think you're lacking. Why do we want to limit that?
Thank you for the question. So that was an amendment that the House put on, and it was done in consultation with experts from around the United States. Furthermore, it's not a secretary position, it's a highly technical cybersecurity position.
True, but it still goes, we actually put it in there to go to the Senate executive noms. And I'm looking at the requirement, and it says at a minimum hold a bachelor's degree. It could be in accounting, it could be anything. But then it goes on, and I actually have a master's in computer engineering, so I understand a lot of this thing. But they go into very explicit detail. They say you have to have systems engineering, you have to have cybersecurity, you have to have infrastructure, and it just goes down a list and list and list and says and. And if you miss out on one of those things, you're disqualified. And then it goes further, and it's vague, so I'm not really sure. It says has an understanding of existing enterprise capabilities and limitations and knowledge of the current security regulations, which seems inherent into our system. So it almost seems like we have to pick somebody from our department to do this because they have to know about our systems. So why, again, would we limit that? I would think we'd want to make the pool as big as possible to get the best person and pay them what they're worth, because cybersecurity is so important. And I think this is the third or fourth one I've seen where we're starting to go down this path.
So once again, it's a highly technical position, and those were the amendments as they came over from the House. I think our committee often talks about not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, and
Okay.
we thought that this might be a deal killer.
That would be a shame if that was a deal killer.
It
but
would be.
Anyway,
it's also like this pretty standard stuff for a managerial person in this capacity.
pretty standard. But when you put a specific thing in there, that disqualifies them, her or him.
Does the senator have an amendment?
I think we're on the amendments, but thank you. Let's go to section 5. And if you could just help us, it talks about they have to be certified, and then if they don't fix things, then the, I guess, Office of Security, what's it called? The Office of Security Management will assume responsibility of that unit.
So just explain that process, how that will work.
Are you in the uncodified section at the back of the report?
Yes, section 5. So basically, I believe they have a year. They certify by a certain time, and they have a year at that point to fix things. And if they don't fix them, then the state will come in and assume responsibility for their cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That is correct. And Senator, this is, you know, a very, very low bar. It's the state security information officer already has this ability. We're just clarifying that there are 3 choices. This is now what they're doing as they bring the local health departments back online. The first choice is that you enter into a shared service agreement with the Department of Information Technology. The second choice is that if that is not acceptable, then they can remove your administrative privileges. So on Network Maryland, instead of being an editor or whatever, you get bumped down to, you know, basic user. The third choice is that it cuts you off from the Network Maryland, and that is currently the only choice that we have right now.
So this only deals with Network Maryland when they certify? Or is it their, because I imagine they have cybersecurity for their whole system, not just their connection into Network Maryland. So is the certification just for Network Maryland?
We are requiring the certification because they are on Network Maryland, and we don't want anybody who cannot meet minimum standards. These are minimum standards which fit on one page. And I would argue that if any of our state agencies or local governments are not meeting minimum standards, I don't want them on Network Maryland.
No, I understand that. But what this bill says, if they don't meet it, then the state will assume responsibility for their Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, their cybersecurity system. And so
right.
I think I understand that. Now I'm just looking at the scope of this. So is it all 24 jurisdictions that they could assume responsibility under this bill? So the local government?
Yes.
And then I think I saw in the bill where it says includes, which is not limiting, but just list a couple. And I think it said the school systems, the school board, and the health department.
Yes.
But that is just the minimum. So I guess any government network falls under this category then, is that correct? If I understand legal language, when it says includes, it just means we're going to list these, but it's not limited to these.
It's counties, school boards, and local health departments when we're excluding municipalities.
Okay.
While
And
we're on
then the municipalities, since you brought that up, do they have any connection into the Network Maryland?
There's a lot of municipalities out there, and we do not know. That could be a great bill for next year.
It could be, but what you find out is you're only as strong as your weakest point.
I think I've heard that before.
Yes. So if municipalities are connected to our network, and we're not requiring them, but we're requiring everybody else in the state, the vulnerability is at the municipality. So why did we exclude them if we're trying to have an overall address our cybersecurity?
I mean, there is a certain amount of capacity. If we focus on health departments, school systems, and county governments, that will be, you know, a lot of systems to start to make sure that they're meeting minimum standards. And I think municipalities are probably next. We can't do everything in 1 year.
Okay. And then I looked at, I think there was a form put out about the minimum standards, and there was vulnerabilities. They have different levels, and we do this at our work all the time, and you don't do it once a year, you do it weekly, monthly, and so forth. At what level of these vulnerabilities must they fix in Section 5? In other words, you can have a critical vulnerability all the way down to low. Do they have to do it for all? Because it says any findings of vulnerabilities, or they find anything, it says they can take them over. So is it for all levels?
So that's why there's a good year between when they have to certify minimum compliance and when you keep saying takeover. It's not a takeover. Right now, the only option is to cut them off of Network Maryland. This gives them 3 choices. The 3 choices are to enter into a shared service agreement, which I would argue would be a really good answer if they don't think that they can fix anything, because they can still enter into a shared service agreement to work towards fixing everything. The second choice is to change our administrative privileges, and the third choice is to cut them off the network.
Okay, I'm just reading the language in the bill, and it seems very clear. It says the Office of Security Management shall assume responsibility for a unit's cybersecurity through, and then it gives them different options. But it's saying they're going to take it over. They'll take over Montgomery County. They'll take over Anne Arundel County. So they give them options how to take over responsibility, but it's very clear that they have to do that.
These shared service agreements are negotiated between the county and the Department of Information Technology.
Okay, last question on this bill. Being in the computer science area, the way this is set up, it says you have to be certified. You find all these vulnerabilities. We'll give you a year to fix it. A year is such a long time. We've got this critical vulnerability in Anne Arundel County. And we're going to say in here, you've got a year to fix it. You've got to fix it in days. Why are we giving them a year to fix it? Because in that year, you can have ransomware, all this stuff. Why are we giving them a year to fix when they have critical vulnerabilities?
Well, once again, this goes back to your earlier question about the type of vulnerabilities. If in the certification process, I imagine whoever is doing it will rank order from highest to lowest. The reason this is an emergency bill is because there's $550 million in this year's budget to help our counties come up to where they need to be. It doesn't have to take them a year. I'd hope in Anne Arundel County that they wouldn't take a year. I'm probably already working on it.
Okay, it just seems that we're setting it up the plan that could allow a lot of ransomware to come in. If this is our best plan to put forward, waiting a year to have them fix it. So I will talk more on the next bill. Thank you.
All right, on the amendments, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1202 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Let's go to layover number 60. Companion bill here. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1346, Delegate P. Young, State Government, Cybersecurity Coordination and Governance. Questions on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
All right, question is on the 5 committee amendments. Chair recognizes the senator from District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the floor leader yield for a couple questions?
Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Thank you. So this bill I had a little more time to dig into, and I have more questions I did on the last one. So the first part is, so within Department of DO-IT, or Department of Information Technology as we call it, we're now creating the CISO for the state. There's going to be an Office of Security Management within the department, and you're saying that comes from the governor's executive order? Okay. So my question is, does this person, as the CISO, do they have jurisdiction over every state computer other than, I think it's, what I see in here is the legislature and the judicial branch?
They currently have the ability to cut off the network for anybody who's on the network. And in terms of jurisdiction, I think it depends on what you're saying. This bill explicitly states that we're not taking over day-to-day operations, day-to-day computers, operational issues, systems. That they're at the very end of the report, we are working on a transition strategy towards centralization of cybersecurity. But it's a policy move.
But so let's say Department of Transportation and somebody hacks the Easy Pass system and it's creating problems. Department of Transportation saying we're dealing with it, we're fixing it. Does the CISO have the ability to come in and say, no, we're shutting it down?
Yes.
Okay.
That is current executive order.
Okay, because I remember a couple years ago we had a bill dealing with that, and all the departments came in, were upset because some of them deal with federal systems, and their argument was that the local state system, federal, cause a problem. All right, so moving on to this new position, this person, following up on the minority leader's questions about this person, page 10, line 11, we talk about hold appropriate information technology or cybersecurity certifications. We don't care what the certification is. Could be Sec Plus or CISP. I mean, is there, because I know the DoD has a standard, level 1, 2, or 3. Do we have anything like that for the state?
Once again, this is the section that came over from the House in consultation with experts across the country. And if you're arguing for more specificity, I think your colleague just argued for it to be broader. So which do you want?
No, my question is, have we asked do they have a level of certification, like DOD?
We're looking at federal standards from the National Institute for Standards and Technology.
Okay, so are you saying that this person running the state is going to follow all NIST guidelines for following state operations?
No, we have a state, we have a minimum standards produced by the state that are based on those NIST guidelines. And everybody has to follow those guidelines.
The basic, okay.
I have a copy here. Would you like one?
Sure, when we're done.
Okay, great.
And following on, and as the senator had pointed out, talking about identifying, implementing, and assessing security controls, as well as infrastructure, systems engineering, and cybersecurity. I believe he was correct on this with regards to the word "and." These are very specialized. Think of a doctor. It's like, you either have a heart surgeon, a brain surgeon, orthopedic surgeon. You don't have somebody that does them all. And I am going to offer an amendment on third reader to kind of strike this to "or," because I think you're really going to have a hard time finding somebody who is a systems engineer and all of that. So I just wanted to kind of make you aware of that, and maybe we can talk offline about that. Moving further along, on page 14, line 23, we talk about, this is the report that's going to come in every December 31st of every year, that's going to be given to the legislature of our cybersecurity. And line 23 talks about the status of vulnerability assessment of all units of state government. And then you go a little further into it, and I was glad to see this. On the next page, line, I think it's 5, or maybe subsection 2, a report submitted under the subsection may not contain information that's relevant to cybersecurity vulnerability and risk. Why do we make that shall? Because what scares me with that is when you talk about and publish our vulnerabilities, hackers are going to see that and say, oh, well, the state, they haven't fixed this zero-day attack, so we can hit them on that.
We are not publishing our vulnerabilities. The purpose, and you've been a colleague of mine on the Joint Committee on Cyber IT and Biotech. I ask at every committee meeting, how many agencies has had their vulnerability assessments done? I've rarely got an answer for the first 2 years I asked that question. I started getting the answer to that question at the end of this year after the governor put $5 million in, and now there's $10 billion more. The point of on page 14, lines 23 through 25, is to understand the status of vulnerability assessments for all units of state government so that we know we're moving forward. On page 15, under line 5, we are specifically stating that a report submitted under the subsection may not contain information that reveals cybersecurity vulnerabilities and risks to the state. So you and I are exactly on the same page.
I just think I think that should say shall instead of may.
Where?
Would the floor leader yield? Would the floor leader yield?
Will the floor leader yield to the chair?
I'll yield.
Senator may proceed. It's my understanding in legislative language, may not equates to shall not.
Okay.
And that's normal language.
I just want to make sure.
I spoke with our committee counsel just a moment ago, and I think that comes up frequently, and that's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Learn something new every day. May not equals shall not. Okay, moving on. So now we've put together the, you have this coordinating council, and I see we've brought in the chancellor for the University of Maryland system. But I heard earlier you guys voted in committee to exempt them out, but then I have heard from the University of Maryland system saying that they're already, later in the bill, they're out, as in current language, so it's not a problem. But why are we bringing them into this council, as well as somebody from the Court of Appeals when the judicial system's been exempted out of the bill?
So they are out of the policy mandate. But they do, if they want a seat at the table, the chancellor or the chancellor's designee can be there. And I would think that they would, given their expertise in this area, they could be beneficial to the state.
Okay, I'm just curious why that, if they're exempt from the bill from falling under this, bringing them to the table. Okay. Next thing I have on page 19, line 23, master plan. It says, master plan means the statewide information technology master plan and statewide cybersecurity strategy. But when we move on to page 24, lines 18, 25, and 26, line 17, may not purchase, lease, or rent information technology unless consistent with the master plan strategy.
Right. Senator?
But you have the
We're aware of several technical amendments, and you're referring to one of them right now. We currently have a statewide IT master plan, and cybersecurity is a chapter in that. In several discussions, we've deemed that this that the master plan could be more specific. It could have smarter goals, and so that's one thing we're hoping for. But in order to achieve the grants under the federal infrastructure bill, we need to have a state cybersecurity strategy, a specific strategy. So in my conversation with the administration, they decided to beef up that section on cybersecurity strategy, have it serve as both a standalone document so that we can get the federal money, and also have that replace the chapter in the master plan.
So, but you said that you found some technical amendments you're going to have to offer.
Yes, we consistently throughout the document, we want it to be called the IT master plan and the cybersecurity strategy, and I have 2 amendments sitting on my desk to make technical corrections to make sure that is consistent through both bills.
Okay, so you'll fix that language?
I will
then?
fix that.
Okay.
I really appreciate your interest. Thank you so much.
No
But
problem.
you're co-sponsor as well, so thank you.
I am. I support it. This is what I do for a living. The issue is we're kind of rushing it, and I've got people calling me, and I can't answer everybody and go to committee and vote and everything while studying this. That was my issue. Going back to page 20, why did we pull out the legislative branch and the judicial branch?
Right, so this exempts them from the procurement part of the statute, and because of their, this came over, I mean, this was existing language down through line 6, 7, where it says Baltimore City Community College. Okay. The rest was added in the House, and we decided that unless there is a separation of powers issue, nobody else should be exempt. Did I say something wrong? I reversed it, sorry. Unless they're there because there would be a separation of powers issue if the executive branch had oversight over the legislative branch or the judicial branch. Sorry.
Thank you. All right, rolling on, page 36, down section 2, subsection I, or I guess that's Roman numeral 1. We bring in, we talked earlier about NIST, and you had said how the state, it doesn't specify in the bill anywhere about the state having to do NIST, but you are pulling in the legislature as well as the judicial system with this language, I believe, in this section. Am I correct?
Once again, that has to do with the separation of powers issue.
Okay.
Every executive branch agency and every local unit of government must abide by the security standards that DO-IT sets, which are based on the NIST standards. There was some hesitation from the Attorney General's office in having us certify that we meet those state standards. So we're choosing here the federal standards to self-certify too. I think it's incredibly important that we as a General Assembly know that we meet certain standards, and we don't have that certification right now.
Okay, so I agree with that, and I'm just saying, so the way I read this is the bill's saying that legislature and judiciary have to follow NIST, and that was my question. The state has to too. The executive branch.
The executive branch has to follow the minimum standards for the state, which are based on NIST. They've expanded them and taken them from standards into security standards specific for the state.
So at a minimum, we won't go below what the executive side won't have to go below what the legislative or judicial side
Exactly. We're raising the bar on everybody.
Okay. Last 2 points I have. Sorry, I'm trying to see what page this is. I think it's an unnumbered page. It's this, or no, I guess 42, 3, 2, 1. 41. Section 5, and this think this is uncodified language. Subsection 1, on or before June 30th, 2023, each agency and executive branch of state government shall certify to the Office of Security Management Compliance with state minimum cybersecurity standards established by the Department of Information Security. Who's that Department of Information Security? I didn't know we had a new department.
There's an amendment to fix that too.
Oh, okay, good. All right, we're rolling here.
It's the Department of Information Technology. It's not the
Okay, so a typo.
affectionately known as Do It.
Got it. So that's who that's going to be. All right. Look what I found in 2 hours or 4 hours, Mr. President. Give me 24. We'll be here forever. So the last point I have is, so Section 5 is taking everything that the state's going to do. But Section 6, we're dividing in, we're saying, hey, we're going to study this.
No, it's just saying that we want to make sure that Do It has the staff, the resources, and the expertise to do what this bill does. So we're asking Do It to hire a contractor to evaluate the department's capacity to implement the provisions. They are going to have to hire more people.
I get that.
Yeah.
But my issue with this is, going back to the other bill, it's emergency legislation. So when the governor signs it in a month, it takes effect. But here you're saying, hey, let's study it, see who we need to hire, and we don't know who we need to hire yet.
Yeah, I mean, they're already, they'll continue doing the work that they're already doing. They will have more money to do it. So with this over $550 million in the budget, they can begin hiring contractors to help with, which is what they've been doing, honestly, all along. But we don't know at this point whether, contractors are the best way to go, whether they want to hire more PINs, this is giving them the ability to come back with a budget request to say, hey, this is what's reasonable for next year to make. So it's an emergency bill, so we can use this year's budget to get stuff done.
$550 million.
$550 million.
Got that.
On the low end.
Low end. Could be higher?
It depends on how you count. So there's.
I only know one way of counting, Mr. President. So I guess we're opening up going down a rabbit hole here.
No, I can list it for you. It's 550 and change.
Change.
I'm rounding up.
Okay, rounding, not new method of counting. Okay. I thank you very much for taking the questions. Mr. President, that's all I've got at this time.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the 5 committee amendments, Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Yes, if the floor leader would yield.
Senator may proceed.
And the good senator asked some of the questions I had, so hopefully it won't be as long. And I think we all have the same goal. This is not a simple issue. It's complex. And I think part of the problem is we don't have a centralized system here in Maryland. And this bill is trying to set it up to manage it as a centralized, even though we don't have the components. And as I read it, my main concern is that we were putting a lot of effort on Do It. When we see that they can take over responsibility for all state agencies except USM, they can take over responsibility of their cybersecurity for all county governments, for all school systems, school boards, health departments. That just seems like a lot of work. And Section 6, I think, realizes that. And it says specifically they're going to hire a contractor to evaluate the department's capacity to implement this. The one concern I have is in Section 5, we set up the certification process to be done by June 23. And then we're going to take it over if they're not done by July of 24. And the study to see if they can do it is December 24, 6 months after they've taken over all these agencies. So why are we having the report to see if they can accomplish this after we give authority to take over?
So we are not evaluating anything new. It's been law that they have to do these assessments. They just haven't been done because they haven't been funded. So I would just like to thank the Department of Information Technology for making major progress in the past year I think they've got almost half of the agencies done. And so hopefully with the influx of money, they'll get the other half done in the near future.
But wouldn't you agree that we are setting up in Section 5 the potential of taking over numerous agencies or local cybersecurity?
No, I would not agree with that.
Okay. So it says if they don't fix things, the Office of Security Management shall assume responsibility of an agency's cybersecurity. So there's no wiggle room there.
No, that you're not reading the entire sentence.
Okay. If an agency has not remediated any findings pertaining to the state cybersecurity standards found by an independent auditor required under Section A by July 2024, the Office of Security Management shall assume responsibility of an agency's cybersecurity through different ways: a shared service agreement, administrative privileges, or access to the network, Maryland, notwithstanding any federal law or regulation that forbids them to manage the system. So that says to me that if they don't comply and fix it, they shall assume responsibility of the cybersecurity through one of three methods.
Let me point out that about 30% of our agencies already have a shared service agreement with Do It. And they've come on, they're very happy working with this organization. So that's one of the options. The other two options are what our local departments of health are doing right now. In order to, since the incident where the Maryland Department of Health was brought down, in order to come back on to the state system, our Department of Information Technology is going around and talking to everybody, making sure they meet the minimum standards, and then they have two choices. One is, meet the minimum standards. If you don't do that, we're going to reduce your administrative privileges, but you can come back on. And then if you can't do either one of those, then you're not on yet. I mean, if this is currently being done in response to the Maryland Department of Health incident.
So we don't need this language? Is that what you're saying? We're currently doing this and this just codifying existing practice?
Right.
Can Do It take responsibility, assume responsibility of Montgomery County school system today?
It depends on if Montgomery is currently on the state network.
Let's assume they are.
So if they are, then that is currently the choice that our state CISO currently has. You're either on or you're off.
Right, I understand to get rid of the vulnerability, you take them off the network because it's a vulnerability.
So wouldn't you rather have them come back on with reduced privileges or entered into a shared service agreement than just being cut off?
No, my concern is the lack of people to take responsibility for a county that this bill mandates they have to do.
They're not taking responsibility for the entire county. They'll go system by system.
Okay.
It's not like the entire Montgomery County gets shut off. It's like this specific system in Montgomery Public Schools that's not meeting those minimum standards.
Gotcha. Okay, on to another. We heard an answer saying that a lot of this bill is duplicated between two. What happens if one bill has one set of wording and another bill has another set of wording in the exact same section? Which one takes precedence?
The second bill takes precedent.
The higher number? I don't know what you mean by the second one.
The second one signed into law.
Okay, is that the intention of the bill sponsor, to have differences between the same language?
As I mentioned, we've got some technical amendments. They're supposed to be the same.
Okay. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
All right, on the committee amendments, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the committee amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Discussion on the report. If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amended report is adopted. We have amendments to the bill from the committee. Madam Floor Leader, do we have amendments to the bill? All right, Chair recognizes.
We have the technical amendments. Hold on, let me show this right. 12, 13, 46. This one's fine.
All right. Let's get it loaded up. Senator may explain the amendment.
As I stated previously, these are technical amendments, and then there is also a change to the effective date to, from October to July.
All right, Senator moves the amendment, committee amendment. It's on the computer, Senator. It's on the computer. Are there any objections to the amendment? Without objection, oh, yes, Chair recognizes.
Quick
Senator from
question.
District
Is this the only amendment that's going to be offered on this bill? Because I don't know if this one addresses the do it title. Department of Information Systems. Yeah, but
This is the only one that I have on my desk.
okay. So again, going back to I think it's 41. It says Department of Information Security. I don't see do it in here. So
So you can also offer
I was going
amendments
to say,
on
can we get
third
that
reader,
for third
but-
reader?
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments? Seeing none, House Bill 1346 is ordered passed for third reading. We have two layover calendars that are the Senate cross files. We're going to just leave those as unfinished business so that we can get the amendments correct for the House bill versions, and then we can conform on the floor. We're getting close on time, so. All right, we are almost there. We've got a committee from, report from the Committee of Budget and Tax. The number 54. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 858, Senator Gazzoni, gaming, electronic instant bingo machines, maximum number of machines, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 858 just increases the number of electronic bingo machines that are already licensed to have electronic bingo. There were 2 committee amendments. The first amendment adds sponsors. The second amendment just alters the number of machines. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I'd move to special order this to the appropriate time tomorrow morning.
All right, Senators move the adoption of the 2 committee amendments in the favorable committee report and is asked to special order the bill into the appropriate time tomorrow. Are there any objections? Without objections, so ordered. 2 more. We got a special order calendar number 84. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 1043, Delegates Valentino Smith, Family Investment Program, Eligibility, Work Experience, Community Service and Reports, Alterations. Questions on the adoption of the favorable report as amended.
All right, question before the body is on the favorable committee report as amended. Chair recognizes the Senator from the 23rd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. My questions were answered. I want to thank the Senator from District 8. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Senator. All right, on the report, any further discussion? Any objections to the adoption? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1043 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Let's go to special order calendar number 85. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1041, Delegate Valentino Smith, Department of Human Services, Family Investment Program, Contract and Program Review. Questions on the adoption of the favorable report?
Questions on the adoption of the favorable committee report? Any discussion of the report? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1041 is ordered passed for third reading. All right, that does it. We're going to leave the rest unfinished. So we got through a lot of work, We'll see. We're probably going to have to do 2 tomorrow, but it'll be a quick 2, I think. We're in a good spot. So, any committee announcements before tomorrow morning? Tomorrow's 10, I believe we've set. 10 tomorrow. Anything for Education, Health, Environmental Affairs? Chair recognizes Chair of Education, Health, Environmental Affairs.
We'll meet in the committee room at 6:30 for voting.
Six-
Promptly at 6:30.
6:30 for voting for EHE, workhorses. Chair recognizes any other committees? All right. Chair of the Baltimore City Delegation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to acknowledge that we'll have our last delegation meeting tomorrow at 8:30 a.m.
Oh, sorry, that was you.
All right, 8:30.
Ooh.
9, Mr. President?
That's a 9 sounds wonderful. 9 sounds wonderful.
Do I need to
Are
keep on
committees
a roll?
voting in the morning? Yes.
We're meeting at 9.
At 9. Okay, so we got to do 8:30.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair of the Rules Committee, or Chair of Prince George's County Delegation?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Prince George's County delegation will, senators will meet tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock
8 o'clock, all right.
in the Neal Room
Well,
in
no.
the Miller Building.
The Neal Room? Neal, okay, Neal Room, all right. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. for Prince George's. Any other, and actually, thank you, Madam Chair of Prince George's County Delegation, for representing us today at the announcement at the University of Maryland Medical System. Appreciate you stepping in, and heard you did a wonderful job, so thank you very much for that. Thank you. Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the body, I know that the session is long and the hour is late, but I could not let this momentous and historic day go by without acknowledging that Judge, soon-to-be Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson has been confirmed to the United States Supreme Court. For the first time ever, a black woman will sit on our nation's highest court, cloaked in an honor and esteem that has evaded black women in this nation until today. With that, I promise to end soon, but I have a few more things I want to say. Justice Jackson is an eminently qualified jurist that has already demonstrated intellect, poise, dignity, and grace under pressure doing lengthy and intense confirmation hearings, the likes of which has never been seen in history. The fact that some senators that voted against her nomination stated that she was actually qualified is not only perplexing, but bespeaks a long outdated presumption of inferiority that some in this country continue to hold for black women, no matter their achievement. Justice Brown, born to working class educators, graduated magna cum laude from both Harvard University and Harvard Law School. I'm excited that she's the first, most excited that she's the first former public defender to serve on this court. Her stellar career has been dedicated to implementing those treasured words in America's Pledge of Allegiance and embedded in our Constitution, justice for all. Millions of Americans will now see themselves reflected in this most prestigious, esteemed body, which is our nation's highest court in the land. With Justice Jackson on the court, current and future generations of black girls will finally have tangible evidence that they too can reach the highest heights in this country, including wearing the black robe of justice on the highest court in the land. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Senator. Thank you for that reflection and historic moment. Wonderful. Wonderful. Chair recognizes the Senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Point of personal privilege.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. These last 2 days have been a bit difficult. We lost a civil rights icon in Montgomery County, one of our good friends, Harvey Ziegler. He was 102 years old. Doesn't make it any less painful, but it certainly appreciate the legacy that he left behind. His family was descendants of slaves, and then he was raised in Damascus in the area in District 14. He served in World War II, and it says that in December 22nd of 1941, when he was reporting to duty by way of train to South Carolina, his unit stopped at Union Station and was denied food service. But he led the way in Montgomery County for civil rights, involved with the NAACP, so much so that he's been inducted in the Montgomery County Human Rights Hall of Fame. So 102 years old, he's left a lasting legacy in Montgomery County, but throughout the state of Maryland. And it would mean a lot to me, Mr. President, if this body would adjourn in the memory of Harvey Ziegler, who is just a great Marylander and great American.
Thank you,
Mr.
Senator, and without objection, we certainly will. We have, the Majority Leader has the name. Excellent. All right. Okay, I think that does it for a long day. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Friday, April 8th at 10 a.m. in memory of William Harvey Ziegler.
Without objection, so ordered. Have a wonderful night. See you in the morning.